The topic for the panel discussion, securing the future of finance, adaptive security in an AI-driven world. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be first calling up on stage our moderator, and then I'll request our speakers to join me on stage together. Ladies and gentlemen, this session is going to be moderated by Shovik Das, Director EY, and he's going to be joined on stage by Bhaskar Rao, CISO Bharat Cooperative Bank, Naveen Raju Rosaline, CISO Credible, Venugopal P, CISO CSB Bank. Can I have all of you over here on stage, please? Thank you so much. A big round of applause. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. Hello, pleasure to have you. Shukriya, thank you. Pleasure. Request you to take your seat. Hi, sir. Pleasure to have you. Take your seat, please. Thank you. All right, so this is about securing the future of finance because every time security is most important in every space. And who better than the experts to talk us through that? So over to you, sir. And we request you to I know it's difficult, but then we request you to kind of keep it within 20 minutes in the best interest of time.
No, absolutely. And
Thank you so much.
So first of all, thank you everyone for patiently hearing all this while and sparing another 20 minutes for us. We would not stand long between now and your drinks in the evening, but he has already introduced us, so we would not spend a lot of time. But jumping straight to the topic, and maybe while you are answering, if you can just give your names out so that in the interest of the people. So we have spoken a bit around cybersecurity in the last tech talk, as well as we touched upon the guardrails and the other pieces in the previous topics as well. But in today's world, AI catching up, every vendor also talking AI in every piece of the work that we are talking. But the honorable CISOs and all the learned people here can definitely talk a bit about what are the guardrails that are coming within these solutions or even the processes. Are these products resilient enough? Do the banks and the financial institutes need to take some additional steps beyond the product being resilient and the AI being resilient enough? Maybe we can talk a bit about what are the regulations that are impacting your thought processes. RBI has come up with a special committee to look into the ethics and the frameworks of it. So is there an impact, or are you embracing that impact? And maybe we can talk a bit about both the adversary as well as the defensive side, because we are all cybersecurity professionals. How is that getting embedded? So maybe if we can start with you, Bhaskar, your thoughts on maybe starting with a bit of AI-specific threats that you see in your organizations or anything that you're taking action upon?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much, Soik, for this. See, today, AI is everywhere. When you talk about AI, at every level, there's a AI. Even the sources are using AI. The hackers are using AI. So AI is everywhere. But how it is going to use, how the banks are going to use. See, we are not talking, personally being a CISO, I'm not talking about a business side of it. See, when I am talking about risk side of it, how we are going to use it. See, we have been continuously watching that every time the vendor is coming, we are providing this, we are providing this, so many things are coming out. But whether that really helps the CISOs, that is an important question. See, today, so many things are coming out, and it is a difficult, actually, very difficult scenario, particularly for the CISO and particularly for the banking CISO. So it's not only to protect the infrastructure, but also to protect the customer application. So there's a double role and a very difficult role. And also the third one is a regulator, which is one of the most important thing. So these things are there. See, when I talk about AI, yes, definitely CISO will have a role in this, and AI will help CISO in multiple layers. When you talk about threat detection, yes, AI helps in threat detection at a large extent, because the kind of logs being created, the kind of incidences being created, it has become humanly not possible for the individual to actually analyze everything and report it. So that become a bit difficult. So AI definitely comes into picture because the kind of logs are being created, the kind of consolidation is being done in the incidences. So we need a kind of environment wherein we can consolidate all the logs in a single platform, and it should analyze and give a drill down from where it started, how it started, all the threat and defenses, both it need to be done. So threat, definitely AI is going to play a major role. And also, when you talk about other things, there are multiple things when you talk about in compliances. This is one of the major thing because that is one important pattern. AI is definitely going to help the CISOs in major compliances because so many compliances come, it becomes difficult for the CISO to remember what are the things, how do we do that. So that is one area definitely it is going to help. Third important point is the data because the DPDP is also come into picture. So how you are going to use the data, for what purpose you are going to use, the importance of the data, and how you are segregating the data. Those things definitely AI is going to help in this scenario, and this is going to play a major role in the DPDP because the act is already passed. We are just waiting for the rules to come out. So it is there, and it is definitely going to help the CISO, but not that extent the way the vendors are talking. But it's not that way, but definitely it will help the CISOs.
No, thank you so much, and understand the pain of all CISOs. So it is all coming out in the room, and that is very true. The warriors, who are behind the scene protecting the organization, very well articulated around the problems and what you foresee it out. Maybe, yeah, we will just move to you as the next on similar lines. Do you want to call out any of the challenges that, because from a cyber perspective, we talk about two things, right? One is AI for cyber, and then we talk about cyber for AI. What are some of your thoughts? How can be better resilient in both the sides of cyber for AI and AI for cyber, and some of the pains, with the AI advent that you are seeing today, and what we should be doing?
That's a nice question, right? So I'm coming from Credible. Credible is a fintech and an NBFC, right? We provide supply chain finance platform, and one of our subsidiary acts as an NBFC that lends into the platform, right? So my comments or answers would be primarily coming from both fintech and an NBFC point of view, right? AI is not something new, right? Almost 10, 15 years back, AI was there. What happened all of a sudden, right? With LLM, the large language model coming up, advancement on that front, then making this public, right? Accessible to public, right? That's when a lot of traction came into picture whereby, okay, people get to know about it. Then a lot of early adopters started actually working on that particular platform, building something around it, right? And then currently what happens is, okay, everybody want to actually move into the AI space, right? There is a lot of boom around it. Nobody want to lose the race, right? Now the challenge with AI is, right, it's a double-edged sword, right? Like any technologies would like to actually leverage and use it to build capabilities and features around it. Likewise, the hackers would be leveraging it to create sophisticated attack patterns, right? Now, as a CISO, primarily, my role is to evaluate, identify, then onboard, and control AI into my organization. That's one role as a technologist, right? The second is when you act as a CISO, you need to ensure that you have enough controls and leverages there to primarily protect your organization from AI-based kind of attacks, right? So on the first part, right, primarily what we generally do is when we wanted to onboard AI, right, primarily to build capabilities into our fintech platform, what we did is we have the technical committee, we created a co-committee called AI committee, right, primarily to go into the market, understand what exactly is AI, then whether there is a use case specific to us that can be used to onboard AI, then what are the threats that could potentially pose, Since we are also an NBFC, mostly into the regulated space, whether we could blindly adopt AI, of course not. What are the controls we need to bring in, right? So a lot of work went in on that particular direction. And we eventually identified there are few use cases for which AI can be onboarded. At the same time, whether you can use a public AI model, of course not for certain use cases, then what are the options, right? So what we did is on the NBFC front, of course, there are certain use cases like, okay, customer operations, right? There are a kind of chatbot kind of capabilities we want to primarily build. There is a use case. Then fraud management is another capability. Of course, we are not building something, but when we are onboarding a third-party platform, we ensure that, okay, those platforms comes with, let's say, AI-enabled capabilities. Then we are also on the fintech front, we are building primarily an loan origination system and loan management system, which comes with underwriting capabilities. Then it also comes with some kind of fraud management capabilities, right? There we are currently evaluating. There are certain use cases identified. We have started implementing certain early stage implementation specific to the fraud management and credit underwriting using AI, right? And also, when you are a fintech, you are building code, right? There are, let's say, Copilot kind of tools. We are actively using, few of our innovation teams are actively using this, AI, code assistant kind of tools. Within my CISO function, what we are currently doing is, of course, compliance, audit assessment is a critical part. You receive a lot of, audit requirements from your, clients, primarily banks and enterprises, right? A lot of things are manual. We currently build an open source LLM-based smart RFP and assessment module, primarily hosted on-prem, which could use the LLM capabilities. Then you can actually train that model with your information, and then the same module can be used by your business team, right? Whoever gets a kind of question or RFP can simply put the question into that particular service. It will give you answers, right? Consistent answers leveraging AI, right? Those are coming into picture, right? So the role of a CISO, if you are a technologist and a security person, is to primarily identify what is best for you, whether there is a use case that's matching, then which are the best AI models you can bring in, and then create a governance structure around it, how policies, procedures enabled, then maybe other to an AI-based framework. There are the EU AI laws. NIST came up with a framework. Now there is ISO 42000 framework is there, right? You adopt something, then slowly implement controls around it, then monitor it. The one or two major challenges the AI I could tell is primarily, right? You don't know what exactly is happening behind the AI system, right? It's like a black box, right? Now, there are certain challenges with that aspect of AI, whereby, okay, you may not be able to utilize a public-facing AI system. So you need to be very cautious about, okay, whether to go with an public or an on-prem hosted model, and if so, what kind of AI system you need to onboard.
No, great examples, and the double-edged sword, and your role, how difficult it is. It's well articulated, and thank you so much for the views. Possibly, we would like to hear a bit more from you, Mr. Venugopal, around what the banks today are adopting, and maybe some of the guardrails around the AI. Some of your views would help us.
Sure. Thank you for having me in this podium. My name is Venugopal. I'm the CISO of CSB Bank. With respect to artificial intelligence, from a guardrail standpoint, we need to think from three components. In fact, the previous speakers have already covered most of the aspects. I would like to touch upon on the framework side of things a bit more, and then probably within the structure, what all aspects can be as a practitioner we can focus on from a CISO angle. Point number one, there are three components in an artificial intelligence solutions. One is the data, the data which is getting fed into the model. Second is the model itself. And third is the inference, the output, right? And typically, if it is an inference, or it can be just a simple kind of a processor output. If it is an inference, then obviously you need to have the proper guardrail in terms of how the inference is being made. For example, biases, explainability, etc., right? And if it is the model, of course, the model will have its own IP infringement. If you're most of the time, organization don't have a capability or might not have the resources and, time to build their own model, right? So we will end up downloading something from the open source platform, or we will be acquiring some solutions. So there can be certain components which might be from an IP infringement standpoint, we might use in that process. And at the same time, models also learns, right? End of the day, they are training. So what level of data, how do you sanitize the data? That's the first component part, right? So data, model, and the inference. So what type of data we are feeding in case if we are actually integrating the AI system with any of your business applications. Now, how are you sanitizing the data and then feeding into the data, into the model? So these are the three, basic components from a CISO angle we should be looking. This is for, security for AI kind of a thing. While another aspects from a banking industry standpoint, in the last 2 years, I heard that, nearly 143% of increase in the AI adoption or AI use cases or expenses had been made by CIOs and CTOs or the technology functions. And only 23% of the security aspects have been adopted from in those numbers. Nearly a huge gap between what has been adopted and what kind of a guardrail and security which has been provided by the CISO organizations. So it's all the more important that the CISOs need to, look at AI. This cannot be really, we cannot really ignore it. It is a fact. People are adopting it. And we should come out with a framework. So something which we did in our organization is to come out with a policy document to start with. We can actually do with the AI adoption policy or AI adoption framework itself, starting with, having a governance process around it. Because AI at this point of time, any new technology for that matter comes, right, in an organization, especially SaaS, if you would have remembered. Every business function will be an IT, department. They will be subscribing to certain SaaS services or business functions, and without, going through a centralized process. The same thing is now happening for AI, right? Most of the SaaS AI technologies are being adopted by the business teams. So how do you actually centralize it? How do you get visibility on that AI thing? So it's important that you establish the right processes, right framework. So who will be responsible for what? What will be the responsibility of the business team? What will be the responsibility of the technology team, the data science team, of course, ISO team, and any compliance team and audit team. So that has to be clearly laid out, and it has to be approved by the board. And of course, as you mentioned, RBI is also coming up with a framework, and a lot of stipulated activities, actions also will come from that. So ensure that the compliance part of it also need to be looked into. So that's from a governance and framework. Then, of course, when it comes to, in case if you are developing some kind of a AI model, then you need to think about secure development. Life cycle is being followed for the AI side also. And third is in terms of the performing an AI risk management, whether you're acquiring the solution or you're developing solutions. CISO's role is to conduct a risk assessment, right? Having a proper risk framework, as we have been discussing. NIST has come out with an RF risk management framework around AI. And similarly, ISO is also have a standard. So we can adopt those best practices and establish a risk management framework around it. And of course, if you're developing it, you also need to think about having a threat modeling to be done. What are the impacts of, what are the various threats which can actually fall in, both from a process side of things and as well as from a technology side of things, and have the right set of mitigation measures stand. And fourth is in terms of, how are we going to monitor the performance of AI? Some of the risks are, that AI drift. There are models which have been originally given for a specific purpose. Over the period of time, it learns or mislearn certain aspects and then change that, the model. And fourth, of course, how it is brought into the compliance side of things. Especially when you are actually having a third-party AI solution. It is like you're asking a restaurant owner how the recipe has been made. That should be asked to a chef or someone. But the organization might not know how that AI works, because inner working of the AI would not be known to them. But it is important, we need to explain that to the regulators especially, right? So for example, if there is a decision, because inference is all about decisions, right? So you're doing a credit scoring, or you're doing a fraud monitoring and fraud detection, right? If by mistake, or if the AI is not functioning as expected and gives a wrong input or wrong output, then we will have an issue, right? So explainability is another aspect. So how do you get the model card from the partner or OEM and ensure that these aspects are brought into the legal framework of the contract is also crucial. These are some of the aspects which we typically do from a guardrail standpoint.
No, thank you so much. It was very detailed and informative. We are just over the time, so I would possibly hold my questions and we can continue over, when we meet outside. But any questions from the audience that, we have great CISO sitting here with all the knowledge. Any questions from the audience that you would like to put to them? I don't see a hand going up, so I would assume the answer is no. But just to summarize, great insights, what has come out from all of you. In a few key takeaways that I could summarize as one, definitely we are all in the AI revolution, but we also need to adapt to the security. And the statistics that you have shared really shows that we are lagging behind and there has to be a lot of. The pains that you have spoken about tells us that we have a lot to catch up. We have adopted AI, but the security in the AI is what we need to look. And it is much beyond just a tool implementation. We have talked about the governance, the guardrails, and so on. I think the fight will continue. We'll have more discussions in the forthcoming sessions. But till then, thank you so much for the insightful discussions that we could have here with a very short time of 20 minutes that we wanted to comply. But thank you so much for patiently hearing all of you too. Thanks, everyone.
And thank you so much for keeping all the points for our audience within that limited time frame. So a big round of applause for all of them, please, everybody. Thank you so much. Always gets more difficult when time frame is limited. Thank you so much. I'll request all of you to please kindly wait on stage. And मैं वैभव जी को बुलाना चाहूँगा stage पे to please kindly give away the token of appreciation to all our esteemed speakers over here. Once again, a big round of applause for all our speakers, please, everybody. Thank you. Now I'll request for one collective group photo to remind all of you of your school class photograph days, maybe. All of you over here at the front, ahead of the tables, please.